Hey guys, welcome to the very last episode for the semester of In the Game. I'm Robert Guerrero.
I'm Mason Pratt. Plenty to get to today. Priscilla will be doing a double dose of Cougar Corners with freshman volleyball player Caitlin Ogletree, as well as senior safety Nick Sines.
Me and Mason will talk about U of H's football chances for the BCS. Both the Sugar Bowl and the Orange Bowl are an option.
Still got to take care of business on Saturday, but let's get to some news.
And after a 3-0 start, the basketball team drops 3 heartbreakers to LSU, TCU, and Oakland. All 3 losses were by a combined 4 points.
Case Keenum has won the 2011 Sammy Baugh Award. Keenum became just the second player to win the award twice, which is handed out annually to the nation's top passer.
And after a 3-2 win over Rice, the volleyball team wraps up their schedule 19-11.
The 48-16 victory over Tulsa this past week. U of H is off to their best start in school history at 12-0. And in their rankings, coming in at 6th. It's the highest they've been ranked since 1990 when they came in at number 3 in the Associated Press poll.
The ladies basketball team has been having hard times with injury. They are 0-7 as they start their basketball season. All right, now let's throw it for some highlights. There was a big party on Cullen Boulevard as SMU came to town, but it wasn't for the game itself, it was for ESPN's College Game Day, which came to town. Case Keenum continued to break records as he led number 11 Houston past the Ponies 37-7. The Cougars improved to 7-0 in conference play and 11-0 overall, and relied on its defense more than they have on their offense as of yet. Case Keenum set the football subdivision career record for incompletions and also tied Timmy Chang with 3 seasons of 4,000 yards or more. The men's basketball team dropped a heartbreaker to TCU at Hofheinz Pavilion 81-80 as their valiant effort was cut short by TCU in the final seconds. Alanis Harris had a huge game once again with 16 points, 4 rebounds. Joseph Young came up huge, 14 points and 4 rebounds, and Tayshawn Thomas joined the game with 12 points and 7 rebounds. Up next, the Cougars continue their homestand when they play host to LSU at 7 on Tuesday inside Hofheinz Pavilion. The number 8 Houston Cougars travel to Tulsa to earn their spot in the CUSA Championship and prove they deserve that number 8 ranking. Tulsa was also undefeated in CUSA play coming into the game, giving the game the biggest stakes of all for the Cougars season. They were able to come up on top, 48-16, as they set a school season record with its 12th consecutive win. Keenum threw for 457 yards and 5 touchdowns, and Patrick Edwards had another huge game with 181 yards and 4 scores. The Cougars now will face Southern Miss in the CUSA title game and try to go 13-0 as they try and clinch their first BCS bid. Back-to-back heartbreakers for the Cougars as they drop another 1-point game, this time to LSU inside Robertson Stadium, as they were beat 59-58. The Cougars dropped to 3-3 on the season, and Alanis Harris continues his huge season with 21 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 blocks. Tayshawn Thomas stepped up big once again with 13 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 steals. The Cougars will now head into the month of December with a 3-3 record and will play their 4th straight home game when they play host to Texas A&M Corpus Christi at Hofheinz Pavilion.
Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll recap volleyball, talk about the start to basketball season as well. Let's talk about our 12-0 undefeated Cougars in our commentary segment. All right, welcome back. All right, volleyball wrapped up their season. Successful. They finished 19-11.
It was a pretty good season. 11-3 at home. They were pretty good at home, and you hope they can build on that going forward.
Yeah, clearly, tough tough to play on the road, traveling all over CUSA. It's not really geographically, close. So, but there was a stretch where they won 8 out of 10, and then they just they hit a rough stretch towards the end of the year, and kind of, I don't want to say fall apart, but obviously had their struggles towards the end of the year. Meanwhile, talking about struggling, women's basketball drops to 0-7 after a blowout loss to TCU.
They're having a hard time with injuries. They've only suited up 7 players, I think, their last 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, a handful of times, and without your best player, Portia Landry, she's been out since the second game. So yeah, it's been a struggle for them so far.
The only positive you can take out of this is it's non-conference, and of course it's conference that counts. So they could still maybe pull off a miracle and run the table like they did last year.
Yeah, they're gonna need either Portia Landry back or somebody to step up. Meanwhile, men's basketball 3-3. And they're at 500, but I think they're a better team than their record indicates.
They're 3 losses by a combined 4 points, 2 1-point losses as of late. They're tough losses.
In the last seconds, that one against LSU was tough. You force them to force them to take a bad shot, and then you foul on the offensive rebound. They hit free throws, and you end up having to settle for a half-court shot at the end. So tough way to lose. Tough way to basically close out a homestand before you start going on the road here too.
I think it's just a mental thing. That's a very young team. Thibodeau is the only senior on that team. Everybody else seems to be a freshman or a sophomore.
Yeah, still very young with Young and Tayshaun Thomas in the starting lineup. They're freshmen and redshirt freshmen. Then Alondas Harris, who was big last year as a freshman, that comes back as having to embrace more of a leadership type role, but he's only a sophomore.
And the same thing with the girls. You can attribute these growing pains to them being so young, and hopefully they can get it together in time to win.
They lost a lot of talent from that team last year. They went undefeated in conference, but the spotlight obviously going to be on the football team. 12-0 can win. They will look for 13-0 tomorrow. Number 6 in the BCS. Their fate is in their own hands tomorrow.
Yeah, this Cougar team. The only thing they know how to do is break records. Case has broken records. Marcus McGraw has broken records. Patrick Edwards is 4th in NCAA history in terms of receiving yards. He only needs 336 yards in the next 2 games, which, if you saw the Rice game, that's doable in one almost to become the number 1 career receiving leader in terms of NCAA history. Of course, you got Tyron Carrier wanting to get that one touchdown return so he can own that record outright instead of sharing it with CJ Spiller.
But we talk about Tyron Carrier as a return guy. He's very steady as a receiver too. I think set the conference record in terms of receptions in a career. So he's no slouch at the receiving position either.
I think he has some insane stat with receptions in a game. He has an ongoing record of 36 straight games with a catch. And that's pretty unheard
the
of.
active leader in NCAA, I think it's somewhere near 50 games and Pat's not too far behind. I think he's about 46 or 47 in that same category. And I guess when you sling it around as much as we do, that's kind of to be expected.
And the thing with Pat is that broken leg he had a couple of years ago kept him out a couple of games.
Yeah,
I'm sure he would have caught passes there too.
That was tough. But let's go back to that Tulsa game. A lot of people are picking Tulsa to pull the upset there. Instead, Houston came out and took care of business, and they might have picked Tulsa because they've lost to good teams. Their 3 losses were against top 10 teams at the time, but and they had run the table in Conference USA. But just because you've lost to good teams doesn't make you a good team.
Well, they lost to another good team. And all the teams they lost to were ranked
absolutely
in the top 10. When we came around, we were ranked in the top 10 as well.
Add one more to the list, and people talk about Houston being overrated, and you can't look too much at how one team beat the same team, but just Houston beat Tulsa 48-16. I think Oklahoma beat them 49-17. So I don't hear people saying Oklahoma's overrated.
Yeah, no, and that might be a possible matchup if Oklahoma wins the Big 12 championship. We might get to see them in the Fiesta Bowl if things work out that way.
Yeah, Fiesta Bowl. There's also talks about the Sugar Bowl, a potential matchup there with either Michigan if things go their way. They're not at that at-large qualifying spot yet. They're 2 spots back, but with so many teams in the top 15, top 14 playing each other, Michigan State, Wisconsin, and you figure if Oklahoma State beats Oklahoma, they would drop out of that top 14 spot and allow Michigan to move up.
Yeah, you kind of hope to see the Cougars play a good team. That way there's no more talk about the overrated.
The overrated, who have you played? You haven't beat anybody, but that matchup with Michigan is interesting to me because, I don't know, Denard Robinson is just so multifaceted. I would be interested to see how this Cougar defense could adjust to him.
Yeah, they've had a trouble against running quarterbacks the entire season. It'll be interesting how they react to that. There's the Belladozer in Oklahoma. If we face Oklahoma, that's gonna.
He's come on strong as of late. But Denard Robinson, just Sammy Brown's gonna have to play, just fundamentally sound. No, you can't just speed rush around the edge and create these lanes for Denard Robinson.
Be interesting to see what the Cougars do.
Yeah.
Let's go with Priscilla and her 2 Cougar Corner segments.